Hello, my name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software. I want to talk to you about the GDPR. And the question is that, is the GDPR applicable to DBAs, right? That's always been a constant thing, as a data pro, why do I care about the GDPR? Isn't that like, a C-level thing, right? All these, the executives are up there making decisions about the GDPR. And so, yeah, actually, it's something you guys need to worry about too. The whole idea of the GDPR is that they want stuff done by design from the start. So they want all of the data protection, all the data privacy in at the start. Now, granted, a lot of our systems are already going, so we can't put them in at the start, but we have new systems coming online. We're building out new systems, all that kind of fun stuff. And so, yeah, the GDPR is applicable to you, the DBA. It is applicable to you, the data professional. It's applicable to you, the database developer, the developer. The GDPR has applicability to all of you. And the thing is that, I don't want you to panic right now. I don't want you to freak. Yeah, there's been lots of talk about the amount of punishments and the level and degree of punishments. Don't sweat that stuff, right? That's for the C-level people to sweat. They're going to worry about those things. You are going to have to worry about technical implementation of this, and it's going to come. I mean, you're going to be hitting these things. You need to define a few things, and you need to be able to establish methods and processes that you can document and that you can then communicate to all of the people that are consuming that data, and frankly to all the clients that you have whose data you are consuming. So what is it that you're responsible for? Well, you're going to have to do a couple of things. Number one, you need to determine what kind of data it is that you have. And that means knowing, how that data is classified, because there's multiple classifications of data within the GDPR. Classification number one, and it's kind of the easy one to understand, it's private data, right? It's personally identifying private data, names, NHS numbers, social security numbers, stuff like that. Address, IP address. These things are personally identifying. Therefore, they are protected. Then there's special personal identifying, and that gets into stuff like children and healthcare and stuff along those lines. So you'll need to differentiate that from regular private data. And then there's the stuff that's not yet been classified yet. So you have to go through and you have to classify your data, and that's one step. The next step you actually need to do, and that's maybe even before you classify the data, is you need to know what data you have under management. It's not enough to say, I've got 3 databases. Okay, cool. Who can access them? Oh, we don't know. Well, what are they doing with that data? We don't know. Well, I mean, are there spreadsheets attached? Is there reporting? Is there, does the data move out of your system? We don't know. Well, maybe you need to know that stuff. Maybe it's time. And again, yes, this is a C-level problem, but it is a C-level problem that has to be solved through technical means. It is going to be on you guys to figure out how best to solve these things. You especially need to know who's accessing the data. You want to be able to know how that data is being processed, because you must document the processing of the data. You have to document the methods that you use for processing the data. And no, that doesn't mean that you're exposing your logins. It doesn't mean you're exposing your security. That doesn't mean you're releasing the secret sauce that defines your company's data processing. But you have to show that, yeah, in fact, we are taking personal information and we are putting it through a process, and we are going to consume it in some fashion. And you've got to be able to show that, that you're doing that. Further, you have to be able to show, how that data can be accessed by the individuals and how that data can be removed by the individuals. And you have to document all that stuff. Further, you have to document your protection processes. Again, you don't have to show all the details, but you have to show all the methods and mechanisms that you use for protecting data. Also, you have to show that your data is accessible, and when it's not accessible, that you've got a reporting mechanism that allows you to know that it's not accessible and let people know why it's not accessible and when it will again become accessible. All of this stuff is defined within the GDPR. Now, understand that enforcement of the GDPR itself has not started yet. It will start, while the GDPR is in effect now, enforcement starts in May. And it's not until after enforcement starts and we get a number of court cases and more definition around exactly what the sentences, the very clear language sentences within the GDPR mean. Yeah, I know you can read it and you understand its meaning, but remember, it wasn't written by technical people. It was written by non-technical people with a particular idea in mind. And now it's up to the law and us technical people to finally define exactly what that sentence of an idea means, so that we can arrive at a position that where we can talk to the C-level people within our organization and say, yes, I know what data we have under management. I know what type of data it is. I know who has access, and I can supply that to you as part of the GDPR process, which you will then put together and enforce within our organization. Everybody wins. Huzzah, right? That's how you want it to go. My name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software.